The college football experience. Bill Belichick to North Carolina and Tar Heels 2024 ACC schedule release episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with that promo code TCE SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Brock Purdy from Iowa State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the college football experience. North Carolina Tar Heels ACC schedule release and Bill Belichick to the North Carolina Tar Heels episode. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. First, I'll hop on over youtube.com/the college experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. And like I was about to say, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
We are here. Not often. Not often do you fire a guy who's 73 to hire a guy who's 72, who will be 73 by the time he coaches his first game at North Carolina. And I'm here for it all. I am joined by my co-host. He is the, he's the my co-host on the college football experience and the college basketball experience. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, man?
We're talking about the enemy here, right? NC Nick, longtime Duke fan. You know, Belichick said his first words were beat Duke. That was his first words as a human being. And now you get to talk about what this rivalry is going to mean to you now, right?
He also mentioned before the first Duke and UNC basketball game that how UNC was going to beat Duke on the hardwood, and that didn't quite happen, you know. But no, look, hey, we had a couple of weeks off from doing college football pod, so it's good to be back in front of the microphone talking about the sport we love, even if it's those damn Tar Heels up the road.
Yes, those damn Tar Heels up the road, and I think this is like the most compelling thing coming into this season. You could say 12-team playoffs, year 2. No. This story right here of Belichick saying, F the NFL, I'm going down to the college ranks where my daddy was a legend. All right. I mean, this was out of the blue. How shocked were you on a scale of 1 to 10 when you saw Belichick land the job at North Carolina?
Oh man. I mean, it's gotta be up there like around a 9 at least, right? You know, like I think we all knew that Belichick wanted at least one more job coaching, right? But we all assumed that was going to be in the NFL. So it was very surprising, you know, and we've talked about it a little bit, you know, in December-ish time frame about some of our reservations, but you know, ultimately it's different but similar to Coach Prime going to Colorado, because Every game now is like must watch. Everybody, I mean, some people are bought in completely. He's going to do great things there. Others remain very skeptical, but everybody's going to be watching because he is arguably the greatest NFL coach ever, so it's going to be interesting.
Will it save the ACC along the way too?
Well, first off, I don't know if the ACC needs saving. I think, rumors of their demise may have been greatly exaggerated from the get-go, okay? But I don't think we want to go down that route. But it's going to bring eyeballs to ACC football, and it's going to improve ratings. And I think the ACC was smart to put them in some major showcase games because everybody will be tuning in to see how Belichick does, for sure.
Yeah. Folks, before we get into this, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience is part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And if you're looking for daily picks for college basketball, college baseball, NBA, NFL, and much, much more, UFL, CFL, everything right now, the MLB, download the SGPN app. It's free in the App Store and Google Play Store, and let it ride. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, or casino. Can't tell you how many times, remember we would go to the racetrack with old Uncle Harvey and he'd have to duck in through the back gate, make sure he can get in there. Can you come let me in, circle around? Look, plus you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. And the best part is no credit checks. It's completely free. You got my attention. Sign up today. Use that promo code SGPN so you get better cashback rewards and instant tier 2 status, which I feel like we're all looking for. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet. Promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. Yes, MyBookie is your place to bet every single sport. Plus, there's props for every game, and the live dealer casino is a bundle of fun. And MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations, even outside of the states. Easy to deposit, lightning fast payouts using crypto. So head over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code TCESGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, they're going to give you a little $10 casino chip just to get your beak wet. That's mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back and let's get into it. I made some damn slides for this fine event. I'm delighted. Just look at that right there. That's how you do it. All right.
I like it.
They do go hire Bill Belichick at 72 years old, 8-time Super Bowl champ. And dude, one of the things I love about this is I think part of the package deal, and he said he's going to treat this like an NFL franchise or whatever. He says with the NIL and everything these days, he got all this buy-in. Apparently, we've been waiting. Let's just talk about this for a second. We've been waiting. I know maybe you haven't as a Duke fan, but I can remember countless conversations with Patty C or whoever, maybe even you, probably you, about why does North Carolina phone it in football? Like they're in a rich recruiting ground area between Southern Virginia, the state of North Carolina. You got Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee right there. And we always seem like they would just care about basketball. It seemed like they phoned it in football a little bit, at least in my lifetime.
Well, I think they kind of went in on the Butch Davis era. And they had some pretty nice seasons, but some scandals came along with it, and they kind of squashed that. And but now I think, to UNC's credit, I think they see the writing on the wall. They know football is important, and now they're pumping resources towards it. Because you're right. I mean, there's no reason why UNC shouldn't be able to field a really good football team consistently.
Yeah, and I think one of the things part of his demand, I think, to be the coach was that they fully commit into football. Like he was not going to take the gig without a full commitment in there. And that's why I believe they came up with some big time money NIL wise. And it's been rumored that Michael Jordan was a big part of that.
Which may be even more important than who's the head coach. I mean, obviously you need the right guy at the helm, but the right guy can only go so far if the proper resources aren't applied to the program. So step one, resources applied. Now Belichick has no excuses. He should, coming into this, after the hire, we all have doubts when a longtime NFL guy goes to college. Typically, that does not work out.
But ironically, the guy he replaced with the Patriots, Pete Carroll, went to the college ranks and dominated.
He's one of the few exceptions. He really is. Usually it does not work out. But now with the additional resources, with UNC taking football seriously, there's no reason why Belichick can't do at least what the person he replacing did at UNC, which is Mac Brown, which is basically, between 6-6 and 9-3 every year. That should be what the floor of what the expectation should be. And the ceiling's a lot higher because while they're almost the same age, Mac Brown seemed a lot older. Belichick,
I don't picture
he's
Mac
a young 72.
I don't picture Mac Brown. Yeah, if he's a young 72, you can judge him by his girlfriend. But
that'll keep you young.
Mac Brown, it was kind of like a CEO to me. He would always hire good coordinators.
Right.
Belichick's like an innovating mind on the defense. Like historically, he's a guy very hands-on with the X's and O's.
Mac Brown had to get his 1 p.m. nap in. He had to have his nanner pudding, snack after the nap.
If you don't have that ready in the cafeteria, I'll light into your ass. All right.
But also one more important thing about the end of Mac Brown's tenure. Let's just look at the last 4 years. UNC's defense, a scoring defense, ranked nationally. Last year, 89th. Year before that, 75th. Year before that, 102nd. And the year before that, 105th. National scoring defense. If anything, Belichick can improve on the defense. And that's, if you're a UNC fan, you had NFL quarterbacks coming through your program, and you couldn't do any better than 8-4.
The talent has always been there, man.
But the defense has never been there. The fan base has never fully embraced it, and the team's always been a little soft. Well, Belichick might be the right guy to fix some of those issues.
I was about to say, you got to go way back to the days. They used to pump out defensive guys back in the day, actually. Obviously Lawrence Taylor and Julius Peppers and Dre Bly and Greg Ellis and, William Fuller and former Redskin Chris Hamburger, remember him? But they used to be that's what I'm saying. The potential to me is through the roof. To me, I've always said, if they ever got their shit together in football, they could be a power, a full-on power. Now, let me ask you this before we get to the next thing here. How long is he there? How long as a 70? He's going to be 73, I believe, in April. So 5 years?
5 years is the max. If it goes well, 5 years. If it doesn't go very well, then you may be looking at more like 2 or 3 years. I would say between 3 and 5.
Well, as offensive coordinator, he retained a guy that we used to watch play quarterback at Alabama, Freddie Kitchens, who was on the staff a season ago, was the interim head coach, believe it or not. Freddie Kitchens has been everywhere. He obviously was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns for a season in 2019. He's been at a lot of stops. Played at Alabama, as I alluded to. He's been at LSU, North Texas, Mississippi State, Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, Cleveland Browns as a position coach, Cleveland Browns as a head coach, Giants as a position coach, South Carolina, Glenville State even. Were you looking for a sexier hire on the offensive side of the ball? But this is a guy that he has been a part of some decent staffs, I will say, some coaches like Bruce Arians, he was with for a long time. Bruce Arians is a well-respected coach. What do you make of Freddie Kitchens at the offensive coordinator spot?
Well, I don't know how much is sexy about Bill Belichick. So I don't know if I would have expected a sexy hire.
You see his girlfriend.
Okay, good point. All right, that might be the only thing sexy about Belichick is his girlfriend. Freddie Kitchens not as sexy as his girlfriend. I think it's a decent hire, though. I think he did decent there. I think last year, with the injury at quarterback, last year UNC's offense was not as good as previous years, but I think he's fine there.
I think that's going to be an interesting one, and I thought that was very. I thought for a second they were going to go out. I know he brought in, Michael Lombardi to run the team, but I was a little surprised that they retained Freddie Kitchens. I'll say that. I thought they might go out and try to get somebody.
Well, the fact that he has that NFL experience, there's a good chance that Bill knew who he was at the pro level. Maybe that helped.
Yeah. And hey, if you're trying to pay players, Freddie only makes $650,000 only. Hey Bill, dial 1-800-PICK Dundee. I got you, buddy.
I'll trade jobs with you, Freddie.
I did want to touch on this before I guess I should talk defense first. One of the things I love about this, one of the things in general that I love about college football is, unlike the NFL, they don't destroy their stadiums after about, every 20 years. I think I saw this stat somewhere in the past year that there's only 4 NFL stadiums, and if you retired in 1994, there's only 4 stadiums that are still standing.
That's crazy. Wow.
All
at the taxpayer expense also.
All bullshit. Complete bullshit. Well, Bill Belichick won me over when he tweeted out, and I think I sent this to you and everyone I knew because I was like, dog going in circles. Excited to bring natural gas back to Kenan Memorial Stadium, which is a legendary stadium, folks, if you didn't know. Football should always be played on grass. What do you think about also bringing back the sideline hedges? He's winning me over from the start, Nick. I know you're a Duke fan. I know you're sitting there saying, bring it on, Bill. But I completely agree that if you're talking player safety, everything should always be on grass. Everything should be outdoors. Everything should be on grass.
Especially where you're at in the country, like where it's not like really hard to keep and maintain grass. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for turf. So yes, I like that move. And I think, on top of that, I think this move has excited the fan base. And I think we're going to see, especially early on in the season, and if they do well early on, you're going to see that place rocking, actually. I know that has very rarely been the case. Usually, we all say the wine and cheese crowd. Usually it's like late arriving, early exiting. I think that place is going to be fired up this year. I think UNC fans are excited for this.
Yeah, look at that. Remember they used to have the hedges back in the day? They got to, and I've always said that, like Alabama's athletic director is just a true pile of shit, if you ask me. It was like, you shouldn't be able to storm the field. If you put those hedges there, it's always gold when you see, like 30 drunk girls trying to run through those hedges. All right. Even some of the skinny guys are just taking beat downs from those hedges. He won me over at that. And then one of the things that I was going to tie this into was the fact that he brought in his son as defensive coordinator. What's cool about this is the son is literally coaching at his grandfather's spot. Not only is Bill coaching at where I got a headline there back when Steve Belichick Sr. Coached the North Carolina Tar Heels for many seasons. And that's awesome, dude.
That is pretty cool.
The same exact fucking stadium. You're going to have your son coaching the defense, which by the way, he was in college football last season at Washington. They finished with the 28th ranked defense in the country in year one when they were importing a brand new team. They had 0 returning starters. I think that's a pretty damn good job by Steve Belichick. And the fact that they bring him in, and then the fact that his dad had coached there for a few seasons back in the day.
And we think that if things go well, Bill, Daddy will pass it on to Steve, his son, to be head coach in 4 to 5 years or so, if things go well, which is kind of cool. But all I know is that he better clean up that mullet.
No.
You're in Chapel Hill, man. You gotta be clean cut. You gotta be, looking like you're
that's why you slick it back like
interview.
Pat Riley. You slick it back like Pat Riley. All right, you got it. You can keep it, but just Slick that thing down. All right.
This is going to be like, what's his face? The old Coastal Carolina coach that went to Liberty.
Jamie Chadwell.
Jamie Chadwell. He cleaned up real quick when he went up to Liberty.
Well, Jerry Falwell had a conversation. He goes, look, you keep that long hair, I might jerk off to you in the corner. All right.
Like,
look, all right, now,
look. You can bang my wife, but you can't rock that haircut here.
Yeah, that thing you got. Oh man, I like the hire, man. I think the defense will be going, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we dive into the schedule here was, first off, he's gone out and got 3 or 4 lacrosse players to commit. He's been seeking. Now he played lacrosse. Bill Belichick did, believe it or not. He played football and lacrosse at Wesleyan, which is I think in the Northeast. But I am fascinated by this because we recently saw, me and Patty C. I mean, first off, the kid for Notre Dame, Fiason, that emerged for Notre Dame at the wideout spot was a lacrosse player. We saw a couple years back, Jared Bernhardt, who's now in the CFL as a wide receiver.
Remember Chris Hogan?
Yeah, Chris Hogan. There's another one. Yeah,
he played. He didn't even play football for Penn State. He played lacrosse for Penn State, and then played on with the Dolphins and the Patriots, I think. Yeah,
I think the Jets maybe too. But Jared Bernhardt, I know, was like a National Lacrosse Player of the Year and used his extra year of eligibility to go to Ferris State and win a national championship there in the D2 ranks. Was the MVP of that league too, I believe, or that game, one of the two. And now he's in the CFL as a wideout. So going after getting, I think I read 4 lacrosse players. Interesting. Now the portal, here's what I find interesting, man, is you might remember this game. I had to dig it up again, but Ryan Brown, who was the backup to Hudson Card at Purdue, I remember they played. He was a freshman last season. They played. Who the fuck was it? Was it
Illinois?
Oregon? Illinois.
He struggled against Oregon, but against Illinois, he threw for almost 303 touchdowns and he ran for over 100.
So getting him in the portal was a huge get to me because I thought he popped to me. I thought he showed some flash. I kind of really like that get right there. And then they went out and they were able to retain Caleb Hood, who was in the portal at the running back spot, who I really liked.
Also at quarterback, though, Max Longseer Johnson comes back.
That's true.
He, from LSU and A&M, and last year he started the season, got hurt against Minnesota. He wasn't looking good against Minnesota. I think he's serviceable, but it's going to be interesting to see if Brown or Johnson wins the starting quarterback job, because you got kind of like, the safe pick with Johnson, who's, pretty low ceiling but high floor. Or do you roll a dice with a youngster who's flashed? He played decent last year at some points, played bad in others, but he was on just a really bad team, so it's kind of hard to tell. So quarterback's going to be interesting. Yeah,
Jacoby Criswell left for ETSU, and Merdinger went to Liberty with
Harold transferred out too.
Where did he live? Oh, he's at Charlotte. He went to Charlotte. Yeah.
But overall, I mean, the transfer class, 18 commits, third best transfer class in the ACC, ranked by 7x24, and
he rated my damn Pirates.
He did, and then 14th nationally. So, it looked like, other than the quarterback, it looked like Belichick mostly addressed the defense and O-line. So, while the quarterback still may be in question, I think he did pretty well in the portal.
I can tell you this, just the ECU guy, CJ Mims was a beast for us, and same with Gavin Gibson in the secondary, but CJ Mims was on the D line. Those are 2 good gets there. And then they brought Steve Belichick brought a bunch of Washington talent with him. They also went out and snagged Alabama offensive lineman Miles McVay, Connor Cox, a tight end from South Carolina, and then some obscure ones. That's what I love about Belichick. He's going to do this. Bringing in a Prairie View A&M William Boone on the offensive line. I don't know if he has any connections to Bubba McDowell, who was the head coach at Prairie View last year, Christo Kelly from Holy Cross, a Delaware Blue Hen transfer. I mean, Rice, Chad Lindbergh. I mean, they went deep sea diving, which I just love. But I think another thing is being able to retain 2 offensive linemen that were going to hit the portal, that were starters, being able to retain Caleb Hood, who is a stud running back, and a few other guys, I think was kind of one of the most important things that he did moving into this season, and why you should be optimistic on the season ahead.
Right. So roster wise, good job in the portal. As far as recruiting, high school, 5th best recruiting class in the ACC, 32nd nationally, a whopping 46 signees. So it's going to be a pretty big roster overhaul. Now, on the flip side, the bad thing is you have to replace probably the 3 best players on the team last year. Omarion Hampton is going to be drafted by the NFL. He was a beast running back for a couple years there.
But Hood is a beast too. And that's another thing. Bill Belichick hired Natron Means, who former North Carolina running back we grew up watching at Carolina.
Natron means business.
Oh yeah,
right?
and
Chris, shout out to Chris Berman.
Yes, I like that because getting a running back coach that obviously played at the highest level and played damn good at the highest level.
And overall, running backs are maybe easier to replace than maybe some other positions. But also 2 other guys on the NFL radar that will be drafted. Elijah Huzzy at the DB. He transferred in from did he transfer in from an FCS school?
I believe so. Was it?
I gotta look that up. I think it was, but I'm not positive.
Why did I think it was like Campbell or something?
Yeah, it might be.
I think it was an FCS school.
I'll look that up next, ad read, but also came on Rocker on the edge. So all 3 of those guys will be drafted. They're going to be missed, but roster wise, I think again, UNC pumping more resources to pay some of these players. I think it showed here with the freshman class and the transfer class.
Yeah. And I just wonder. So if you get on over to DraftKings Sportsbook right now, you have a win total at 7.5. So Vegas is saying, hey, somewhere between 7 and 8 wins for year 1. But I got to be honest, when I see the schedule, I think there's room for a dynamite first season. We'll talk about it in a second here, but I want to tell you folks that the North Carolina Tar Heels the Bill Belichick to North Carolina and the schedule release episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes. Look, Underdog Fantasy right now, college basketball each and every night. If you're a Tar Heel fan, I know it's not the greatest season, but there's gold in them there hills with college basketball, NHL, NBA. I mean, everything they got over there. UFL, CFL, MLB. When NFL comes back, when college football comes back, it is the best place to be. There's edges you can't find elsewhere. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with that promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Look, you can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. I do believe you can make money that way. But me, I like to build my own model, and Rhythm will adjust around what I like. Right now, college basketball season, it's perfect for college hoops. It's perfect for the NBA and golf. Rhythm has it all, though. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, we are back talking Bill Belichick, 8-time Super Bowl champ.
Let me cut you off. Elijah Huzzy came in from East Tennessee State. I knew it was FCS. Another one of these FCS transfers that plays really good football once they get the chance at the FBS level.
Oh man, if you looked, I feel like if you looked at half the Heisman room last season, it was former FCS players. Yeah, I mean, you could really find gold in them there hills. The schedule, 7.5 wins, NC Nick. And
I think it's right on.
We already got a line on the first game of the season.
I think Vegas put it at a very good spot here. I know we're going to go game by game here, but The schedule's interesting because they have a lot of showcase games, like I mentioned before, either like weekday standalone type games. I think within conference play, they got a pretty nice draw. Every game on this schedule is winnable.
They got an amazing draw, if I may say so. And I haven't. This is beginning our deep dives on these schedules.
Yeah,
but my first thought is this is the friendliest conference schedule that I've seen, and I can't help but think that it might have something to do with Carolina going all in on football and landing Bill Belichick. But
ACC is not dumb here. I think they've woken up also. You got to do what you can to get the highest ratings, and so within conference play, like the way I looked at it was, how I like to separate teams in tiers. And with the ACC, I said the top of the league is Clemson, Miami, SMU, and Louisville. North Carolina only plays one of those teams, and it is at home after a bye.
And they get a bye after too if it's a body blow game. So
true.
I don't know how you feel on that, because some people hate the double bye, like the bye week. So you basically have a game on an island, bye week prior, bye week after. Some hate that.
Yeah, I think I would prefer that second bye week to be later in the season.
But at least it's before you go to Berkeley.
That helps, yes. But the last thing I was going to say about the conference schedule, I would say the bottom of the ACC. The ACC is kind of funny. You got the top tier, bottom tier, and then a huge jumble of teams in the middle. Which UNC's they're in that big jumble. The bottom of the league, I say, is UVA, Stanford, Wake Forest. Those three teams are the worst three teams. That's like the bottom tier. UNC plays all three.
Yes. And I mean, there's several things I noted here. They only play 4 teams with a winning record from a season ago, and that is TCU, Clemson, Syracuse, and Duke. They get all of those at home with the exception. With the exception of Syracuse on the road. Right. But to me, that's a dynamite schedule. Then you look at I love the way credit to the ACC on this though. They have Wake Forest, Duke, and NC State to end the season. One of the things I love is getting your rivals. I mean, look, they don't leave the state of North Carolina, after November 8th, and the season ends on the 30th or whatever, right? So you get 3 weeks there, and I love that too, because you have your arch rivals with a chance to fuck up your season if it is a magical season, or role reversed. If State's having a good year, the Pussy Pack. If Duke's having a good year, if Wake Forest under Jake Dickert has a good year. Yeah. So just to rattle this off, you're listening to this on the audio side of things. They start off this place. We should go to this game, dude, because this is on Labor Day. Kenan Memorial Stadium, a 98-year-old stadium, gonna be rocking on Labor Day when the TCU Horned Frogs. What's up with Sonny Dykes? He got Dion in his first game. Now he gets Belichick in his first game. It's like, we're gonna. I guess that's a good thing. You can pump up the Big 12 rankings ratings too. But we should go to this game, dude. TCU coming in. Carolina's a 2.5 point favorite already. TCU is going to be pretty good. They return a lot of production,
TCU, they very quietly went 8-4 in the regular season and won a shitty bowl game against Louisiana to go to win 9 games last year. And on top of that, they won over their last 7 games. They went 6-1, and Josh Hoover, who was a sophomore last year, back for his junior year. He's a baller. So
he is
TCU,
a baller.
I would say, like, TCU really wasn't on people's radars last year, but they quietly had a pretty nice season, and a lot of that talent comes back. So that's a fascinating game.
I was surprised Carolina was favored, but I guess like the hype is part of that reason. But
right,
I think TCU is the more talented team right now, unless there's players hitting the portal or something that I don't know about.
No, I agree. I think TCU is more talented. The question is, I do think this will be a lit environment. We throw stones at UNC fans sometimes for the first game, standalone. Belichick in town. This place is going to be pretty lit.
Yeah. And then week 2, what I love, what I love. So I think the TCU game, you can make a case, might be the hardest game of the year. And the main reason why I say that is maybe they're not as much as a playoff contender as another team here, but it's the first game of the season and you're playing probably, I don't know. Would you say this is the second most talented team on the schedule? Probably, right?
Well, there's a team, in Durham, which is pretty talented also, but obviously Clemson's the most talented. TCU is certainly in the mix for second. They might be.
Then what I love is that Belichick, coaching legend, 8 Super Bowls, going live to the J. Rich Stadium there in Charlotte, North Carolina, to take on the Clits. I love it. Road game at Charlotte, recruiting trip. Get on over there. Jordan will be in the house.
Brand new head coach for Charlotte. They got
Tim Albin from Ohio.
From Ohio, I was a big fan of. Charlotte was 5-7 last year. UNC played them last year at home, 138-20. I think UNC handles this one.
Yes, and then they get the newest member of the Patriot League. Yes, Richmond left the CAA for the Patriot League. The Richmond Spiders from the FCS. They should take care of business there. Then at UCF, the bounce house, Scott Frost. Week 4, will he have it going by then? How tricky of a game is this for, say, Carolina here?
I think it's always tricky to go down there. I mean, UCF is a team that is also talented, and they just extremely underachieved last year. The KJ Jefferson experience did not work out. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at quarterback. Late in the year, that quarterback Dylan Rizek was starting, and he had some good games. He had some not so great games, like his last 2 against West Virginia and Utah. And then, I mean, their portal guys they got at the quarterback position are interesting. I mean, they got Taven Jackson from Indiana.
I like it. I like that kid.
Do you know the second one?
Who was the second one?
They got Cam Fancher, which I think is a horrible quarterback from FAU, from Marshall.
Bullshit.
We always
going to do that,
dude. We had last year. We said fade Fancher. So I don't think he's going to play much. But
to have depth, the guys that started, he started for 2 or 3 years now. So I mean, to have that as a backup,
right. You're right. So look at the out of conference, those 4 games. Not only do they play 2 power conference teams, but they also play a group of 5 on the road, because the ACC is one of the few conferences that still will play group of 5 teams on the road. Shout out to them in the Big 12 who still do that occasionally.
Yeah.
What do you think their record is in those first 4 games?
They could be 4-0. I mean, I'm going to say 3-1.
They could be 2-2.
I think they'll get one of them.
I think you're right. I'm going to say 3-1, but it could be 2-2.
They could.
What's more likely, 2-2 or 4-0?
I say 4-0.
Really? I think more likely is 2-2.
You're a Duke fan. And one other thing I wanted to note, Scott Frost played safety in the NFL for Bill Belichick with the New York Jets. Did you know that? Scott Frost played safety for the Jets under Bill Belichick as his defensive coach. So nice little spice to that game. So they come after that. So that's the non-con. They get a bye week into conference play. Then they're hosting the Clemson Tigers. Cade Klubnik back.
Odds on favorite to win the conference.
Garrett Riley back. They're using the transfer portal. They bring in Tom Allen as the defensive coordinator. They're going all in on getting back to the playoffs here. This is the one you circle. Kenan Memorial will be rocking for this one. It is surrounded by a bye on both ends. So they get a bye after the game. If it's a body blow game, then you get right for going to Berkeley. But
to be fair, Clemson also has a bye coming into the game too.
Sure. I mean, you have to favor Clemson here, but you got to love the fact your hardest in-conference game is in Kenan Memorial, Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Sure. I mean, Clemson's won 6 in a row in the series. They didn't play last year, but they played in 2022 and 2023. Both were double-digit wins by Clemson. You have to assume Clemson's going to win this game, but Clemson has not, for the last 2 or 3 years, they haven't been the same Clemson as 5 years ago. So they've always had that clunker. Last year, Clemson should have lost at Pitt. So there's always that potential for a clunker for Clemson. I'm going to say Clemson wins this game, But again, there's not one game on this schedule that is not winnable for UNC. So it's possible.
And you gotta love, and yes, Jaden Ott is coming back to Cal next year. The chat's asking. Yeah, so you get a bye week, and then you head out to Berkeley. Beautiful, beautiful California Memorial Stadium. Conference game
Thursday night.
I love how they did it. Yeah, so check us out. You got the TCU game, weekday game, the Cal game, weekday game, the Syracuse game, weekday
Friday
game.
night. Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they get another one once they get closer to the season.
Maybe one of those flex ones. One of those flex jobs.
I could see Charlotte being a Friday night game. Well, maybe not because they're on a Monday. Yeah. I could see UCF being a Friday night game. I could see that NC State game being moved up to Black Friday. There's a few different ones there that could move, but at Cal, I did like what they did adding Nick Rolovich to the stat. I thought that was something that was sneaky good. They brought in him and Brian Harsin to run the offense. Cal's offense been ass lately. I think that's one that could really make this game kind of tricky. Where do you put this as far as the trickier games in conference?
It's certainly tricky. I mean, it's kind of surprisingly, Cal in conference last year at home just went 1-3. But
got robbed against Miami.
They lost to Miami by 1. They lost to NC State by 1, and they lost to Syracuse by 8. So all of them are 1-score games. You know, yes, UNC does have the bye, which helps with the travel all the way out to the West Coast, but it is a tricky game. I will say, since you already mentioned the game at Syracuse 2 weeks from this game, I say UNC probably splits the 2 primetime road games.
Okay. So yeah, after Clemson, you get a bye week at Cal. Then you have the rivalry game, the other rivalry game, oldest rivalry in the South, Virginia, Tony Elliott. They got some big donations coming into their football program. They're stepping it up a bit. It's in Chapel Hill, but believe it or not, Tony Elliott's had success in Chapel Hill. Your thoughts on the Wahoos coming in on the 25th? Anthony Calandri is now at UNLV. They went out to the portal, brought in a quarterback. Who did they bring in? I'm drawing a blank on who they brought in.
I knew that a couple months ago.
I feel like yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Sluka.
No, he's JMU.
No, he went to JMU.
Yeah.
I'm mixing up my Virginia schools. Mixing up my Patty C schools.
They brought in a QB. I don't think I was that high on him, but I think some people liked him. But I'll find it in a second. But
yeah, I mean, this game's kind of interesting because you could argue it's a sandwich spot game between in between the 2 weekday night games. But UNC won this game 41-14 last year. I think they win it again. I think their program's for further along than UVA right now.
To Patty C's credit, though, these games are always chippier than you think. Like as far as close games, I feel like a lot of the times they've been really, really close games over the years, and a lot of times the road team wins. A lot of time the road team wins in this rivalry. I can't remember who the hell
they brought in Chandler Morris from North Texas.
That's right.
Which is a solid get.
Solid get.
Solid get.
He's been anytime you can get a starting quarterback that started for like 20 years.
I liked Calandria, even though he was kind of,
he was too crazy though, man.
But he was young. You were hoping that, as he got more experience, he would limit the turnovers and everything. Obviously going with somebody a whole lot older with Chandler Morris, maybe that's a good thing for UVA.
Now they go to the filthy bullshit Carrier Dome. Kyle McCord's gone though. The Honda McCord has left the parking lot. But Syracuse, obviously Fran Brown is turning that thing. He turned it around. In year 1, he just walked in and boom, won a bunch of games. We cashed our over on the Qs. I am curious what they'll be doing at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, because they weren't very aggressive in the portal either. They brought in a quarterback, but he wasn't a guy. I think he was like a second or third stringer in the SEC.
Yeah, I wonder if they have a guy, on that staff that backed up.
So Del Rio Wilson transferred out. So, and I mean, McCord took like 99% of the snaps last year. So if somebody's buried on the depth chart, maybe he's good, but I don't know him.
Yeah. They could also be using the spring portal for a quarterback. Something to monitor. I think they can win at the Carrier Dome. I don't think that's an incredibly hard game.
No, it's not. But I just think that, either at Cal or at Syracuse, UNC drops one of those.
Sure. And then they're home to Stanford. Stanford's been all over the place. They've been shitty, but like they have games. They beat Syracuse last year. So it's like one of the Syracuse's only losses.
And I think that was a weekday game also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Interesting. But Stanford coming to Chapel Hill, you got to like Carolina in that spot. Yeah. Then you are at Wake Forest Grove Stadium there. I mean, Jake Dickert year one. I expect regression. Well, I don't know. I mean, they won 4 games, what it was a season ago. But I kind of like the hire, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how good they'll be this year. I kind of think they'll be in the bottom of the ACC. So I think that's a win. And I also think it could be a Carolina crowd like you see in basketball.
Yeah. Now I will say, like, I think everything you said about the UVA game applies even more to the UNC Wake Forest game, because that game's always crazy. Now in this series, UNC has won 4 in a row, but every game has been by less than 1 score. There was a crazy 59-55 game a few years ago. These games get wacky, but UNC, at least lately, has always found a way to win the game. I think that will continue.
Yeah. And then you got the matchup. Manny Diaz comes in year one. He said, Mac Brown, you fired me, you pile of shit. I remember that. And that was the turning point of Mac Brown being fired, by the way. UNC was up 21-0 or something?
20-0. And they lost 21-20. And and UNC also had a good streak against Duke. They had won, I think, 5 in a row before that loss last year. So it's a big game. Obviously, I have Duke winning.
Well, Belichick's hinted at this being the rivalry. But they end the season at State, Carter Finley Stadium. I will say they drop one of those. I still like the over on the win total though, dude.
Yeah, and so NC State. So we're talking about series. NC State's now won 4 in a row against the Tar Heels.
There's blood in the water though, man. They got raided in the portal. They lost their defensive coordinator, who's now the head coach of Marshall.
But you want to ride NC State when nobody's expecting much, and you want to fade NC State when people are expecting a lot.
They fired Robert and I believe, or demoted him, one of the two. Yeah. Their offensive coordinator.
But no, so I think if you're a UNC fan, you look at it and you talk yourself into going 3-1 out of conference. Even give yourself a loss to Clemson. I think you split the weekday road games. You beat the bottom of the conference, which is UVA, Stanford, and Wake. And then you split Duke and NC State, and you go 8-4. You go over, and you chalk it up as a pretty good first year for Belichick.
Now, can that get you in the ACC championship?
Probably not. You'd have 3 conference losses.
They would not have any tiebreakers though, but with the exception of Clemson. So if you're going up against SMU or Miami or something like that, you're not going to have that head to head. It might be able to though. They might be in a spot where they're taking on Duke, where if they win out, they're in.
I don't know. Drip Tona in the chat, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a UNC guy. He says 10-2.
He says only losses are TCU and Clemson. I mean, you gotta think about it. Duke, they lose Malik Murphy to Oregon State, but they bring in the kid from Tulane. What's my guy's name? The quarterback, Mensa. He's a stud. NC State is one that I'm just not as bullish on them this year. We'll see what they do. Who's their what's their situation? Because didn't Conception leave? I thought they got raided in the portal.
Well, their quarterback is CJ Harris.
Yeah. But you got to have someone to throw to.
CJ Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But he really flashed last year. I think NC State offensively will be better. Defensively, that's a question mark. So what's a successful year for UNC, and what's their ceiling?
I mean, honestly, even if they didn't hit this, if they went 7-5, I'd still say it's encouraging. But to me, the ceiling, you want to get crazy. It's a great schedule.
Your ceiling is what Diptona is said. Their ceiling's 10-2.
It reminds me of Syracuse's schedule last year for Fran Brown.
Yeah, or you could argue SMU. You might even say it's more like SMU's schedule because SMU also played 2 Big 12 teams out of conference, and they split those games, right? They lost to BYU, beat TCU. Very similar to SMU or Syracuse schedule last year. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, you go back and look at the Syracuse thing. Syracuse was 10-3. Their 3 losses were in conference, but 2 of those, a home loss to Stanford on a Friday, a 6-point loss at BC. If not for just one, if they just won one of those, they would have been playing in the ACC championship. So, yeah, I mean, Astronaut Dion was walking into a much worse scenario, I think, than Belichick. Like North Carolina's got much more talent than Colorado did in year 1, but yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm going to take the over. I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games, man. I think this hire is going to work. NC Nick,
I'm going to take the under. They're going to lose a game that's not expected, whether it be at Wake Forest or maybe they lose both of those weekday road games. I say 7-5 for the Tar Heels.
What's the worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario is they go 2-2 out of conference. Then
lose to Clemson, lose to Cal. You're sitting there 2-4,
and they go like 5-7-ish. But I mean, there's definitely enough winnable games where I will be shocked if they don't at least go 6-6.
Yeah, that schedule's gold. Folks, we're going to be breaking down all the conference schedules. Now that all the Power 5 has released their schedules and the CUSA, I know in about 9 days, we get the AAC and the Mountain West schedules. So we are just diving into this. Subscribe to the College Football Experience. It's going to be fun. Kenan Memorial Stadium rocking like it should be. All right, I'm gonna be out there I'm gonna hit a couple games. I can tell you that. Give NC Nick a follow on Twitter. What's that?
You better give me a Horned Frog shirt then.
Isn't that their thing? Isn't this their thing?
Sure.
For Hypnotoad. Anyway, folks, give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. The Astronaut saying the natural grass is going to bring them to at least 7-5. I mean, that's the best thing. Let's go. Don't forget that ACC championship game's in Charlotte, NC Nick. So if they get there, Jordan's going to fly his helicopter right on midfield. All right. Play a game of poker in that fucking helicopter. All right. David Thompson might be his pilot. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. We're just getting started. We're breaking down all the coaching hires, all the schedule releases, every single team preview, all 136 team previews will be happening over the summer. Yeah, and put ECU on the schedule, you pussies. All right. I know they are in baseball. Nick, we should go to that at the Durham Bulls game or stadium.
Let's do it.
We got to figure that's right around the corner. I feel like, maybe the Astronaut. I'll let you know. I know I got tickets to the one in Fayetteville when they take on Gardner Webb. Oh yeah. These running Bulldogs are, the pain is coming for you. All right. I saw North Carolina's magical win tonight against Kansas State. They battled back. But NC Nick will tell you, so did the Dukies. All right. The Dukies got that win. Subscribe to the College Baseball
UNC Dub ain't got nothing on Duke.
Yeah. Check out the College Basketball Experience, the FCS College Football Experience, the Sports Gambling Podcast. Till next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience. Bill Belichick and North Carolina 2025 schedule style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.